Morning, everyone. I'm Lisa Nollman, the Connecticut partner for LEGO League, the Explore and Discover program specifically, and to give you some ideas of how you can help teams in that age range at that point in the program get started.
Just if you want to write down my email really quick, because your memory's like mine, or my name. I'm always available if you leave this and you think, I don't know what she said about X, Y, or Z, or 3 months from now you decide, now I actually want to start helping. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. So just want to give you like a couple different ways you can help teams, and then we'll get a little deeper into the programs. You can, real basic here, and start a team. That might be a little tricky this year with all the remote and hybrid options, but we can talk a little bit about that too. You can mentor an existing team. You may not know where they are, but you can reach out to me. I can try to connect you. I do see the teams that are registered. I can see what towns they're in. I can see if there's anybody near you. I can also just offer up, since we're remote now, and if you want to help mentor a team remotely this year, you could kind of do that with anybody in your area. Since this is all of New England, there are partners, just for those of you, if you're not in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, there is a partner in your state too that you can connect with for similar help. You could help provide activities for teams. This year, again, being remote, that might be easier than ever to offer. And you can help teams share their work. So let me give you an overview. If you're not familiar with the younger programs, they really are the starting point for many. Some students out there may have started at the Explore level, probably not. This one's a new one. Discovers for ages 4 through 6, kindergarten, first grade. It is very set up for schools, preschools to do kindergarten, first grade, elementary schools, because it's only sold as a class pack for 30 students. Little harder for, I think, teams to help get this one started, but then again, you might be a big team with a lot of kids who can help and want to get this going. So it'll be for 30 students. You get 7 sets of Lego kits that go with the season. You get an entering notebook for every student, a team meeting guide for whoever is organizing it. They call it 30 parent sets. This one's based on the Duplo blocks. So the basic rectangular Duplo, they call it 6 bricks. You get 6 of them, different colors, and each student would get that. So I believe that's what the parent set is. It goes home with the parent and the kids, and there's an activity with every meeting that they can do using just those 6 bricks. It's something that's very out there on the internet now with Lego Education. You could Google that. That alone provides activities you can do with young kids. Registration is $395. That will get you the basic set, but they always recommend sort of a bigger base of Legos that you can use year over year, and those are the Steam Park set. And they say for every 8 kids, you would want 1. So the Explore is what people probably are familiar with as FLL Junior. It is still very similar to that program. They're just sort of breaking out the ages a little bit. So you could have 6-year-olds. Not sure. So I pulled from where they said 6 to 10, but they keep telling us 2nd grade to 4th grade. They're always a little, it's always gray in the transition between programs. There's nothing at this age that says you have to exactly meet the age on a certain date. So I tend to go with the age of the kids or the maturity of the kids, ask for parent input on that. This program is going to go deeper into building with Legos, coding something called a WeDo, which is a motor. They can program speeds and direction and how long it runs, sounds, different things like that. This one is set up where you can either do an individual team or a class pack. So depending on the size of what you're trying to do, I highly recommend, if you haven't done it, just start a team and get to learn the program. So the teams are 6 students, and when you register, you get a Lego set for the season, engineering notebooks for the kids, a team meeting guide for you. The registration's $99 for the team. and they can go to an event in whatever version those might be this year. They do suggest that you get a WeDo. That will be a little tricky if kids are remote because it's just one motor and doesn't lend itself well to to sharing in this remote environment. However, it is something that down the road, you use that every year. So it's an investment you use and you can keep reusing that. So thinking in two scenarios here maybe, because it's October and if you might want to start a team this year, we're going to have to think of this remote world that we're living in. But also it's a really good time to think about doing this for next year, to plan ahead, because on a normal season, events are in January and March. You might want to get your teams meeting now, so you might have already wanted to plan a few months ago. So I would kind of give you like two thoughts here as you are considering helping out teams. One thing everybody needs is funding. You guys have that all the time with your teams. This is no different. So that might be a way that you find how your team is really good at fundraising. You want to fundraise and buy the kits and pay for registration for a team. And maybe that's what you're going to do. You say that's what we can do, and we're going to find some parents that want to run the team, and that will be one way to certainly help. Every team needs 2 adult coaches. That's going to be a little harder maybe if you're students that want to help a team. A adult coach means over 18. It could be that you find a parent of one of the students on the teams and maybe one of your mentors. There's different ways to make that pairing. Teams need a space to meet. In a normal year, this year, the space to meet might be a little help understanding how to run a Zoom meeting or something like that. You might find that that's a way that you can be helpful. You're really good at that platform and you can help a team meet that way. On a regular year, it would be a place, can they meet after school in their school? Is it a neighborhood team that wishes they just had one place, not somebody's house? And maybe you have a place where your team normally meets and there's a table that you can dedicate to them to have their Legos stay there and have them meet every week. In general, they really love to meet you. They love to meet students who build robots. They love to meet older kids who are into Legos, and they will take your help, and they often need your help just to get their ideas into something. It's not always easy for them to build what they're thinking into Legos. Like, you probably deal with plenty. I want my robot to do this, and I'm just not getting there. So this would be, they need that help. They need that mentoring that you guys are used to. They do a poster for their event, so that's kind of a basic one. But if you're going to start a team, you may want to have supplies for that. And a place to share their work. We have expos regularly. This year they will probably be remote. I do find every year, even though we might have, let's say in Connecticut as an example, we might have 55 teams registered. I find maybe half to 3/4 will go to an expo and the others, they just don't. Whether that's time, whether that's travel. So that is a way you can help too, because really teams, they want kids to celebrate. That's a common FIRST theme, right? You want to share out what you do. You also want to teach other people about it. So it could be as simple as your team sets up a plan with a coach that the kids are going to come to a meeting or join remotely into one of your meetings, and you guys are just going to listen to them present their project. And that's a big deal for them because it really validates what they did and it shows that people are interested in what they did. Okay. So go a little more into a couple of those. Mentoring a team, again, I did mention that they certainly love to meet older students, other mentors maybe that are out in industry have something to share with them. So if you are thinking that that's something you have time available is the one thing you can offer a team. I have some time. So you want to be available for most meetings. If you come once, that's helpful. It's a lot more helpful if you can partner with the team and say, I can be there every other week, or something that they can rely on. One thing I find many teams need is help teaching the WeDo programming. This level is kind of an easy one to coach, to sign up and say, I can coach a team. Any parent I say can do it, and they can grab the notebook and they can figure out how to run their meetings. Where I find they usually feel a little unsure of themselves, a little nervous about starting a team, is the programming. It is a very basic icon-driven type of programming, kind of like Scratch if you've done it, the Hour of Code. But they really, I've seen it from many coaches, they love it when a high schooler will come and sit with their kids and work on the programming with them. Because they might be able to understand it and teach it a little bit, but when it comes to really problem solving it, I find you guys are much more natural at that. And many coaches figure it out. I've figured it out over the years, and it's very doable, but again, the power of a older student is valuable. They listen better. They listen to you guys better than they listen to the parents. I'll say that for whatever reason. Also, just help turning their ideas into something. If they're getting frustrated with building, having that one-on-one, someone to just sit with one student for a little while to help them out can be very helpful. Can't really be doing that sitting in person this year, but for future years, that is always a very big help. Someone just listening to their ideas, they love to talk about what they're doing. Most of them, even the shy ones, eventually will. If you say, hey, what are you building? Or hey, what do you think? They will. When I walk in a room that's meeting, there's somebody is going to come up to me with a collection of Legos built into something I might not be able to recognize, but they have a whole story about it. So that's powerful to just be there to listen to those stories. And share what you do. It is nice to take 5 minutes and talk about what you do, or bring a video of your robot moving from last year. Whatever it might be. Maybe there's a few teams in the area that you can bring some, well, in a normal year, I would say that possibly if there's teams meeting in your area, you could bring your robot one day and demonstrate it. I've seen teams do that, and that is very popular. This year, it might be more videos that we'd be sharing remotely. Another thing that can be helpful, I think this is more coming up for me this year, is that if teams are remote, season was built a year ago before COVID was even in anybody's minds. The notebooks are made for a season that's in person. Activities, every meeting for working with the We Do programming, and if teams are remote, they're not really going to be able to do that. Both of these have a theme of moving, getting active, playing. So kind of that fun fitness idea, and they're wanting them to think of ways to do that in different places, at the bus stop, at the park, your backyard, coming up with different ideas. So I think this theme is going to rely on doing thinking and that creativity more, and a little less with the programming is usually like half of it, but it's going to be a little trickier to do. So I think if you are wanting to help and we find you a team that's trying to do something, you might be able to be in a remote meeting and do an activity. That probably sounds like I have no idea how I would do that, but I can help you a little with that. There is at the end I have some links, and one of them is to something that Lego Education, FIRST Education actually, in this case, set up, is online activities, and they're kind of pre-planned with a curriculum, and you could look through those and see if one of those might work. Those tend to be like 45 minutes long. Coaches might really love people who could just come in for 15 minutes and do something. So that would be to me things like a 5-minute Lego build challenge. Like you give them this idea of what you want to do. It could be demonstrating something. Playgrounds, this idea of playing is one that I've used so many times with kids to teach them simple machines. A lever is a seesaw, a ramp is a slide. So you could do some kind of demonstration of a basic simple machine and connect it to playing for them, which is that kind of playmaker's theme. So team building, maybe your team does some type of a team building activity, and that you could do that remotely. That's the kind of thing you could probably Google and find lots of ideas, or create one of your own that'll get the kids sharing something with each other on their meeting. One that I think could be popular with teams, or something that you could very much do, is put something on your team website. A lot of FRC teams, FTC teams have a website. Any FIRST has one, so that would be another option we could pursue if you don't really know how to or want to do that on your own, but would love something to get out there. You could come up with an activity or an idea or a connection to the theme. Maybe it's some videos that you found that are really tied to the theme, and you could link them on your site. We can could connect with a explore group and say that we'd love to come one time and do this with your team based on the theme. So any year you could really do that. Whether it's bringing your robot or coming up with a simple machine activity, that's something that I think any team will always be happy to have that engagement with an older program. I think it's especially helpful, I'm going to sort of add this one in, sort of last thought here, was that parents often don't understand the FIRST program when kids are in these younger programs because they're just starting out in it and they don't realize that there's all these other levels to go through, and we often try to educate them on that. So that can also be helpful if you are going to go to one of the meetings, is you plan with the coach to stay at the end so you can maybe tell parents a little bit about what FIRST is. That can be very helpful, that they understand that there's a LEGO League after this one. Helping a team share their work. Go with the two scenarios again. We have this year and then in the future what you can consider. Every team is encouraged to share their work. It is a really, really big part of this program. The other levels above all have a competition to go to. So it's sort of a natural end of their season and they're sharing. At this level, there isn't a competition, but you still want them to feel that end, that accomplishment, that celebration. So we run expos normally where we bring a lot of teams together. We have people review their work. We share other STEM activities with them. Maybe we teach them about FIRST. We're still going to try to do that in a remote setting. Maybe with some luck, if we wait till April or so, we might be able to do smaller ones in person. That's something we just have to wait out a little bit to see what we'll be able to do. That was actually the next bullet. But even when we do have them, not all teams participate, like I said. So helping them share their work. I think I kind of covered this before when I was talking about helping teams. So inviting a team to present to you, you can do that even this year remotely, but other years certainly in person, and sharing what you do with them is equally important. Expos are really my favorite day of the year. I'm kind of sad. I hope the remote ones will feel that same way to me because I really do love seeing what the kids have done, and I love the stories I get over and over when I walk around. The kids will share what they did. They're always so excited about it. That was really what I had to talk to you guys about. So I'm going to see if you had specific questions. Let me just get myself over to the right place to do that. Of course, I did forget to say to you that you can ask questions in the chat. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do that now, and I will give you a chance to pose those questions and go to where that. Don't know if there's, yeah. There may not be any questions about this idea. Honestly, not even sure who's on this. This is a really different way for me to do this. Usually I'm in a room and I can ask people at the beginning, who are you? Like, are you on a team? Are you a student? Are you a mentor? Are you a coach thinking of starting a team? So even if you want to just throw that in the chat, it would be kind of nice to know, who is interested, I guess, in helping out. We talked about funding in the beginning of this. For teams that, that's something that every team needs, like you guys do too. There are grants available for schools if you are looking at doing this. Some teams will try with their local elementary school to get a program going, and there are grants available. That's something that if you're considering doing this, want some help with that, I would say reach out to myself or the other partners and see if we can't find an appropriate one for you. I don't feel like there's always the easiest link. I can just always say, hey, go to that link. So I usually say, just ask me and I'll do some digging for you. There's plenty of people I can ask if I'm not sure. There is a town in Connecticut that got one this year, an equity grant that was pretty exciting. So they're starting a number of teams. I think it was 8 that they're getting going, even through this COVID. So that they are available and they do get handed out, I guess. So Connecticut events specifically, we are right now, what I'm doing is honestly pausing for a month or so still. So FIRST has been working very hard and developing a remote event hub. I think this is going to be a great resource for us, because if I was to just have to figure out how to do a remote event now, I have to figure out how to run a Zoom conference type of thing. It's a lot. So FIRST is setting that up and doing that, I would say, for us partners. There is a demo out there now for us to log into and try. So we're kind of just, everything's shifted a little later. The World Championship is actually in July, August timeframe this year. So instead of April. So we're giving ourselves that space to figure this out or wait it out, depending. So there really are only maybe 7-8 teams registered right now in Connecticut, where by now there's usually 20 plus. I think everybody is just trying to figure out how to get going. So we will, in the next month or two, just keep an eye on how things go. The remote event hub will be more ready for January to start being used. So I don't see anything before then. We don't normally have any events before January. But I'm looking more toward March in Connecticut, because I think the events are often run with the high school robotics teams, and even they're all kind of in a holding pattern, not sure if they can meet, trying to meet remotely. But we will still have events. It is, again, an important part of the season, and we can do some fun things with a remote event as well. Well, I appreciate everyone for coming, for listening in. Please do reach out to myself or the partner in your state if you do want some help on getting going. I will be talking at 11 in the same channel, going more into the idea of running a program remote or in a hybrid mode. Talk about like the actual season and some of the things you might be able to do to run a team in that mode this year. Like I mentioned, the We Do is a little tricky to do that. So we'll talk about some of that at 11. Thank you.